All right, guys, let's get started. I'm glad to finally be able to teach Latin again after that interesting diversion. So, guys, this is actually for next week. I want to talk about what I'll do with the first declension just now in a second. But next week, it's looking like Monday is going to be first declension practice. We're going to have to do that every day next week. Remind me if I'm not going to forget, but we got to start every day next week, like we're going to take a test on the first declension week, which we will. Maybe we'll talk about the production of Disney's Hercules. I mean, the production history, people, in terms of reception studies. I want to talk about Vesta / Hestia, since we talked about her sister Demeter on this Tuesday. We'll read some Cicero. I'm waiting for Soraya and Danny and Madison Fisher to calm down. We're going to translate some Cicero on Tuesday in class. For people wondering, the homework next week, as boring as it sounds, it's just going to be 6 through 10 from the same sentences you did for today. So we're doing 1 through 5 today. We'll do 6 through 10 tomorrow. So we'll be out of it. Good. And also, guys, remember, a lot of people would come to me and say, like, oh, what's this word? What's this word? What's Mitchell Mitra? If you just look back to page 91, that's where all the new vocab this chapter is. So when you have the textbook, you have all the resources you need. You just need to kind of like learn how to use it. And so, yeah, it's just like the vocab for this new chapter is on 91. So flip back if you see a word that you can tell is brand new and it's not a pronoun. I'm going to give you guys some pronoun cheat sheets next week. We should probably try to return to Jeopardy for the first time next Thursday. And then Friday, we will take that chapter 11 vocab quiz based on the words on page 91. And it'll also have a first declension log. Raise your hand if you did all of the first declension just now. You can tell a lot of y'all maybe didn't totally try. Okay, so that's only, let's count it, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 maybe. John? Was that? No. So like six of y'all out of, seems like there's more class today. I'm not mad, but maybe it's because there's like more deaths or something. Okay. More debts. Anyway, so that's like less than a third of the class. That's not good, but next week we'll practice a lot. Check it out, guys. It's a cool. Okay, so this is this week. We're checking home. Okay. Oh, also I gotta ask about word logs at the end. So remind me before 9:09. Around 9:09. No, yeah, you can start on your second side. So if you have your first, which you still should, you should be able to flip it over. And well, bring things to class, guys. I'm like, I actually don't really want to hear about when you lose them. Like, just ask me to go to your locker or that, or leave it at that. What was I saying? You can flip it over and start on the second side. That won't be due till next Friday. But there's like 4 or 5 people in every class, so I never saw your word log last week. Those are easy points. Okay, I feel like I'm talking really fast. Personal pronouns this chapter. Get used to them. We're about to have to get used to them. That's the vocab. We'll see if some of these verbs are showing up, and y'all probably are showing up. This horrible adjective here I want to talk about real quick, Miss Fisher, before I have to monkey up from this away from this post. This is a nasty, nasty adjective, guys. We'll get to it in the actual sentence. I think it shows up in the 3rd or 4th translation. But it's just like, here it is. It looks benign and totally harmless when it shows up in the vocab section. Idiomative idiom. Okay, looks a little weird, but okay, it means the same, whatever. The weird, the crazy and horrible and annoying and awful and truly destitute thing about it is that for some reason, unlike any other adjective, the first syllable will change to reflect the case number and gender that it has or is compatible with. Not the last syllable. They're going to end with D-E-M, and so you have to look at the first part of it to tell what case and number and gender it is. For the most part, guys, it'll show up next to a word, and you'll just be like, well, that's probably the same case number and gender as that word, even if I can't totally tell, and just translate it as the same, and then whatever noun it's next to, it's probably going with that noun. If it's sandwiched between 2 nouns, that's when you really have to know. But we'll get to that in a second. I guess I don't have the first declension thing. Where is it? We got to find it real quick. Because, like, that's how it works, right? If I just show you guys the first declension over and over and over, eventually you'll be like, you know what? I do know it. I knew it the whole time. So there it is. For the 7 of you who were able to produce it, I'm wasting your time right now. Someone who wasn't one of those 7 kids, What's one of the endings you know for sure? And I don't say no, I'm going to sing that. That's the only one I don't want to hear. Aiden? Yeah, okay, because it's like, it's very individual, it's very distinct. We talk about how, like, if you're moving really quickly, you could think it's accusative, but you just gotta, like, look at the whole ending and then kind of figure out what the stem of the word is so you know where the stem ends and the ending begins. So, yeah, that genitive is pretty distinct. And if you can remember that one, then you'll probably know the second declension version, too, which is O-R-U-M. Connor?
Oh, I really remember the dative and ablative flow easily.
Good. Yeah, so if you can get those feel super random. They're the only ones that don't have A in it, but maybe that makes them easier to remember. Because, yeah, once you know that, you know it for first and second declension, ablative and dative plural. You're killing several birds with a single stone in a very violent manner. Anyone else? Any other endings? Was someone else going to say east? About third person. All right. The 8. I feel like we. Well, sorry, Matthew. What?
Oh, I was gonna say did.
Yeah, okay, good. So she agrees with Connor. I think where the AEs go, if you could just like master where the AEs are showing up, that's almost half the whole dang thing. And the accusatives. I think the accusatives is something we can learn. So really focus on noun-chin accusative, and hopefully ablative and dative will eventually come around. Who wants to read number 1? Mr. Aiden. Good. Does anyone want to share their translation? Aiden? Anyone else? This one really isn't too bad. It has something called a dropped subject, which I probably should have built up to, but that's fine. Laura, what do you think the subject is? And guys, we got to get to be sharing more. I want to hear y'all sharing your. But there is a lot of new stuff going on, so I can see why people don't quite want to share for this assignment. But what do you think the subject is, Laura? AM, that's not a bad guess. Okay, AM and then AM too. Both of those, it turns out, and I know you guys are like, I want you to be able to use this. I don't know where everything is. Just to remind you, this is taken illa. This is first person singular pronouns like I and we and us and me. These are second person, you and y'all. And then these are the third person ones over here. So you see one of these awful third person personal pronouns that start with he. It's the third person one. So it's gonna be something like he, him, she, her, maybe it, it. And these are actually what case, anyone? Ugh, something ever happens. Hello? Yes, it is. Sure, no, that's fine. And actually, I asked them when they first came in. I thought I entered it myself because they told me it wasn't taken, but I can do it again. I think it was like 16 or yeah. Yep. Right. She wants me to enter. Maybe I didn't submit it. She wants me to enter the thing. It's like I did do that. The lunch. All right. Maybe I didn't press submit. I don't know. Okay. So where were we? So anyway, Alora and anybody else, AM and AYAM are accusative. Remember, at least with some of the third person personal pronouns, the ones that aren't basically the genitive and dative singular, the stem is like E. And then, like, actually, the UM and AM there, those are first and second declension accusative singular endings. So if you can just think of, like, this horrible pronoun as basically having this single letter stem, that UM and AM can look to you like it would look on the end of any noun that's just like a normal first or second declension noun. Sorry. So that's accusative. Ms. Fisher, what do you think the subject is? If they can't be, because they're accusative, right? Plus, words like him and her can't be subjects. We don't say him teaches the class. We say he, right? That would be is. But what do you think? When in doubt, find your verb, right? What's the verb, Ms. Fisher? Aiden? I mean, Connor? Yeah, right. And what person and number is Midday Blunt, Miss Dugan, or Miss Fisher? The two Maddies sitting next to each other? Yes, it is third plural. Sorry guys, I think I like swallowed something. That's not the COVID cough. I know that's like weird to hear people coughing, but it's probably fine. It's fine. It's fine. I think. No, I think I took a walk late last night and the air's so dry. That's probably what's happening. I tend to, my throat always dries out a lot in January, February. So third plural, guys. Is there a nominative plural? I'm not seeing one. So Richard or Devin or Grace, what subject shall we use? I'm not seeing a nominative plural. Huh? It has a macron over the A though. And then also say there was no macron here. This is third plural. Agricola is just singular. Ava. Yeah, we're gonna use they, right? Okay, so we finally have our subject. It took us a long time. I get why that would be hard for you guys because this is called a drop subject, right? They tend to be a little more rare than when we are provided the nominative subject. So I mean, it is kind of weird. But anyway, they, and then what tense is Mito, Mitra, Nelius, Macy, or Kalen? Like so creepy to call. What tense? Present, future, or imperfect? Yes. So it's going to be they, not send, but they sent. Very good. Nathan, could you turn the air down about 3 clicks? They sent. Now, what is their direct object? We already kind of talked about this. Kalen or Soraya or Carson.
So, sorry, what do you think?
What is a direct object?
I want to say Alio.
I wish I could focus, but I can't even tell if it's Laura or whoever else is single-handedly sabotaging the whole class's focus. It's super selfish. But so they, what, Ava? Miss Fisher, please move right now. Like, I guess behind.
I was talking to myself, looking there.
So talking to yourself is just as bad.
No,
Please
it's not.
move.
They're not making any noise.
I saw you opening your mouth and was hearing murmuring.
Why would you have me at all?
Okay, cool. I guess I hallucinated. Wow. Okay, they sent Ava? Not and her, but they sent him. So him. Yes, good. They sent him to her. We could say we're sending as well. But yeah, so this is kind of confusing because they're both accusative. So it's kind of like, well, did they send him or did they send her? How do we tell? Just kind of based on word order here, since am's the first word. And then we have ad, which is a preposition that takes an accusative. So am must just be the object of ad, whereas am, the masculine one, is like the actual direct object. Connor?
I'm trying to remember something. I think it's what you said last year. The future tense is bunch, right?
For first and second conjugation verbs. Unfortunately, third and fourth have to be annoying and have their own weird, those blue endings under the orange endings on that poster right there.
Usually I think bunch usually future, and then I think I already know the normal ones, the present tense, and then the imperfect, whatever, just not the ones that I remember is imperfect.
Imperfect should be super, super, like, kind of like crazy easy because BA is showing up in the ending of all of them, all 6 of them, for all 4 conjugations. So it's unmistakable. Future is the only thing you're allowed to be thrown off on. So they were sending him to her, whom Alio Agricola Harry. Who wants to finish it up first?
With the farmer.
What kind of farmer? Anyone out loud?
The other farmer.
The other farmer yesterday. Okay, what case is Alio Agricola, guys? That had those macrons. That's what prevented it from being the subject. What do you think, Ava? Huh? Good. Ava and Carson know that it is ablative. Good. Because cum takes an ablative. So cum and ad are both prepositions here. But ad takes an accusative one and cum takes an ablative one. And guys, I should see a log out on your desk, okay? I don't. So for homework, it's a little different because I expect you guys to have looked up every word that shows up in the homework translations. So ideally, you'd have less to write out during homework checking time. But A, like if they got into the homework. B, you might have you could mix, some of these words are, it's easy to mistake them for other words. So should be doing that. Nathan, what is on your hands, dude? Go to the bathroom and wash it off. Who can read number 2? Parse. Thank you. Good. This one doesn't have too much. It has a couple new vocab words, and there's eos. But I want to learn AS in a vocabulary capacity, not have to think of it as being the genitive singular of all three genders of the third person personal pronoun. Because that is just too many steps to have to take mentally. What is the subject, Danny?
I'm sure it's William.
William has a singular ending. That is feminine. That should look very recognizably like an ending you might see for a direct object or maybe an object of breath. So look instead of the verb, Danny and Connor. What's the verb here?
It's almost, isn't it?
So what does that tell us the subject is?
The subject is
Be what?
William.
No, that's what Danny said, and I said that was wrong. Elias. It's you guys. So Connor's right. Amos is the verb, and it ends with an S, so that means it's second person singular. So the subject is you. Don't forget just the very basic kind of maneuver you need to be performing every time you start a translation, where you find your verb and you think of the OST most of the first, second, third, singular, plural chart, and that will tell you what your subject either is or like needs to be. So yeah, you. And then also, guys, that first word, two. That is you as a nominative singular subject. So look at the chart in the lower part of the middle of the left board. That's where all the second person ones are. Two is the subject form of the second person personal pronoun, aka you. So anytime you see two, like that just like tells you right there that you is a subject. So there's a redundancy, right? Kind of like a sentence we saw that I showed you guys on Tuesday where ego showed up, even though ultimately we would have known that the subject was I once we saw the verb was for singular. We don't need the two. We would know that you is the subject anyway. But like I said, Romans would bust out these pronouns, even if they didn't have to grammatically, for the sake of emphasis. So you, Altum is just this new conjunction that means however you put at the bottom part of your log. You, however, now love, I see it's Nunca Now love what, Danny? What is the actual direct object? I'm asking you for specific reasons, sort of, kind of, Connor. What do you, however, now love, Jake or Natalie? Yeah, right? Billiam is, like I said, it's accusative of the direct object, the happy daughter. And it's not just the happy daughter. Let's actually not use the, Eos. What the heck is this Eos again, anyone? I mean, it's on the board. Connor?
Oh, what was the
Carson? We'll come back to you, Connor.
Okay, so the next part would be you, however, love the happy daughter. It should be, would it be his happy daughter? Or
So we could decide to use his or her. It doesn't really matter. The eyes up here. Like I said, whereas a lot of these actually do have first and second endings, the genitive data have their own weird pronoun. But AS is his, her, or its for all three genders. The word itself in Latin doesn't change. And so if we don't have a reason to know for sure what the gender would be, it's like when we have a drop third person subject and we can pick he or she. It's up to us at that point, basically. So you, however, love her happy daughter. And her or his is the best way to do it. We could translate it like the happy daughter of him or of her, but that sounds more awkward than this. So I'm going to swap out the for a her. So AS, every time you see it, is his or her. Even though his dictionary entry would be like is, aya, id, the whole third personal pronouns, third person personal pronouns. You can write this down in the noun section of your log just as like a singular vocabulary word. And it's just basic.
I was gonna say, it's crazy how people actually spoke like this and understand it because it takes us a while just to put it down in writing and then translate that. But I can't imagine somebody telling you this and then you having to translate it from there, which would take you even longer. But then imagining it on the fly like English when somebody's actually telling you, it would be really crazy.
It's true. It does make you realize how weird language is and how much language is thought and our own thought and perspective hinges on the way our language functions. But remember, and like, yeah, I agree. There's a lot of languages, though, all over the world that are still spoken where they have similar word orders and that the verb is being delayed and the verb is happening at the end, which is not something we would ever do in English. Just think of the sentence I said. The verb is happening at the end. What's the verb there? Or verbs? Huh? Someone said it. Is happening. I have to put it right after the subject of the sentence, the verb. The verb is happening. If I said the verb at the end of the sentence is happening, that's okay. You would know what I meant, but you were like, why did you wait to say the verb at the
The
end?
happening verb.
Right. So anyway, but then also, so once you get really good at Latin, that stops being a thing you even really notice. And like yesterday when y'all were testing, I was reading Caesar's Gallic War, and there's every once in a while I'll run into a word I don't know or like I forgot. But sometimes I'm just fluidly going left to right. I'm not thinking, what's the case of this? What's the case of that? You learn it so well, it becomes muscle memory that you do fluidly just glide over Latin, and you're not even translating it at that point. Once you get really good at a language, you just kind of. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, I don't sit there and have to translate it into English necessarily. You can understand it just as Latin on its own terms, and that can happen with any language that you're comfortable with. Like if you knew Spanish really well and you went to Mexico City and had conversations with people, you wouldn't constantly be like, "Oh, he said, how's your day?" You would just be like, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but like it hits your brain in a different way where you're just hearing it like through the ears of a Spanish speaker. So, okay, number 3, we're moving very slow, but that's fine. Propter. Oh, no, we're good. Propter amikitium. Does anybody want to translate this? Ego hoc facio? There's kind of a key to this. If you translate the first part right, I think the second part kind of comes together. You kind of realize what's happening. Let's hear from Ava and then maybe Danny too. Ava, what'd you get? Good. Okay, that's actually perfect. You might have missed the tense on facies, the second time the verb shows up. And make. The one thing I want to like, maybe you use make for a good reason because facio is often make, but also weirdly can overlap with ago, agra, and be do. And so anyway, that's like, but very good. Danny? Okay, I get why you added for you. That would be Tibby. We don't have that, but like, I get why you did that because that's kind of like what it feels like the person is saying. So good job. You might have missed the tense too. Person?
Because of a friendship, this I make. With you.
This I make. See, that's kind of a Latin-y word order right there, but that actually works. So we have people like Jake and still the girls in the back row kind of distracting me. Okay, cool.
Stop blaming each other. Well, if he knows me, he's gonna accuse me of something that I'm gonna say was true.
Okay. No, like what if a teacher just like you could just convince it, like you could like push the kid over in the hallway, and then they're like, "Don't do that." They're like, "I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I wasn't the one to do it." Like I don't even want to have that conversation. Like I'm just telling you to do something. I don't expect a manipulation of reality. Okay, so on account of friendship are the first 2 words, right? You don't really have to stop and think about amikitiam being accusative. Propter always takes an accusative. It's always right next to propter, so we don't really have to like get bogged down thinking about too much. And then I, what's another way? Instead of saying I make this, maybe we say I
made. This I made.
Make feels more specific, so I like do for this. But y'all have no reason to like. Yeah, if you look at facio, I think make is the first thing that it says, but then do shows up too. It's not as bad as ago. Remember, ago can be like 8 different things: do, act, lead, past, spend, give. Facio is not as bad. It's more like just like make or do. Maybe a couple other things, but usually make. Anyway, I think do just sounds a little better here. It's a little more vague than make. I do this. Not what do you do? The facies here, second person. So it agrees with two showing up again, even if it doesn't need to be there. We can totally drop 2, and it would still be the same sentence. But what tense is facies, Nathan or Carson?
That would be.
It is because of the E, it's future. What will you do, my friend? Don't get too thrown out. What case is me, amica? Anyone? Out loud, Richard?
Future?
No, it's a good guess. Anyone? Like, think of it. Think of the context. Like, what will you do, my friend? Nathan? No. So maybe don't look at the endings. Just use kind of logic because they're kind of weird endings. Caleb? It is evocative. I don't think I made it orange. But so this is just a very irregular evocative form of meus. It doesn't show up on our noun chart that I will ever show up, but apparently, like we've seen that before. And then remember amicus from the U.S. ending of the second inflection noun. It's evocative. You have to get E. But don't worry about it too much. Just think of the it's kind of a logic of if you're talking to someone and you call them something, that'll be in the logic. Vos ne iestim literas ad eo miter across audebitus. This is probably the hardest one. Cass, Garrison.
I want.
I bought it. That's a really bad one.
Will her or you tomorrow praise sending the book? I don't know.
I mean, honestly, not bad for a rough sentence like this. So Bosnia got like 3 people that heck off because they're like, what is this word? You're trying to look it up. You find the word. This is just boast. This means this is a plural version of two. Whereas two is singular and it just means you. Boast means y'all. But if you want to translate it as you still, that's probably fine. So this is just y'all with that nay ending that means something is a question. Okay, so we have a question. Those are automatically always kind of the hardest sentences. What tense is the verb? I see the verb at the end, right? Save you guys the time. Aiden and John, what tense is aude bitte? The future, imperfect, or present? It is future. So what helping verb can we start our question with? Good, Ava. Yeah, will. So will y'all, and then, so this is kind of crazy. So is this aude bitches? Is it from audeo to dare or audeo to hear?
There.
Good. And how do we know that?
The one you said in there.
Good. Instead of I is what? Actually, yeah, that E makes a big difference. So let me just show you guys what would the future tense version of to hear, like will you hear, be? That would be not, well, actually, it would still have an A weirdly, but it wouldn't have that B. So, okay, so audeo, audire, right? It's fourth conjugation. It means to hear, and it has that long IRE that means it's fourth conjugation. For this to be future tense, it uses the really annoying chapter 10 endings we talked about past 2 weeks, like A-N-E-S-E-E, A-N must A. Whereas audeo, audire is second conjugation. So it'll use the good old-fashioned bovis bit because it's second conjugation. So yeah, that's like wicked had and tricky, but that's the logic you would have to do to figure that out. If you didn't type it into Wiktionary, and Wiktionary would like, this is from audeo, audire, to dare. If you didn't do that, you'd have to like really kind of like think through. No, yeah, so that, yeah. Like eventually, hopefully, like I can read any Roman writer and it's completely fluid. But something like that, I would have to stop and be like, okay, it's to there, it's not to here. So yeah, I mean that's okay. You don't have to all be at the point where you're fluidly reading Latin before you know you're an old man. Hopefully, when you guys are like real old, at that point, you revisit your knowledge of the Latin language and you can kind of flourish. So will you dare tomorrow, Vitro, anyone out loud? Because remember, dare takes another verb. Will you all dare tomorrow to send, good Ava? And then this has that nasty adjective I just warned y'all about. We'll send what direct objects, anyone? The same letters. So look how weird this is. So the only way you can tell they're going together is because you have the first part, like the first syllable or two. Because that has the AS that Literos has for first declension accusative. It's nutty. I don't know why this one adjective that means the same has to be so weird. There's like another adjective that means similus, that means similar. So why would the word for same be so wacky? Anyway, so will you all dare to send the same letters ad am? Out loud, anyone, Nathan? Not to the, but to Ava. Him. So this is the second time we're saying am and it means him. So send it to him. So just like her in the first sentence was accusative object of ad, him here is accusative object of ad. All right, let's blast through this one, and then I want to give y'all a chance to show me your word log if you never said that. Wayne here. What weird form is this, anyone? Pardon? Yeah, imperative, right? Anytime you see something you know is from a verb, but it doesn't have an OST mustus ending or an infinitive ending like ARE, ERE, or IRE, you should probably be thinking, oh, this is a command. It's an imperative command. So if you be like, come on, my friend, and Duke May, anyone? Lead me, add AF to Scipulon. Very good. To her or his student, doesn't matter. Yeah. Amabo te, I guess I gave it away. Is this, it literally means I will love you, but Romans heard it as please. Like that's how they would say please. So the literal meaning for it actually doesn't matter. Just the way they would say that word or express that idea that you're asking for something. I didn't do the part in the parentheses. I probably meant to put it up. Does anybody have it out and know what the parentheses part says?
That would be to
They just changed it to. You can't change it to his. AS is his or her.
No. It was like as a if I remember correctly.
Maybe they didn't intend it as plural. All right, guys, real quick, remain quiet so that I can call off the people who and some of this could be a mistake. I'm not saying these people definitely didn't have it or show it to me. So, and you'll have 2 minutes to either explain why you didn't have it last week and you can come up here. So when I call your name, don't be like, I did show it. Just know that you need to come talk to me before the bell. And so this is from last week. So yeah, Connor, you're exempt because you were still in eLearn at this point. Good. E-learners are still exempt. David, I didn't get one from David, but I could be wrong. Nathan, try to find a weekly word log that you can show me. Alora, Jake, and Kaylin. Those are the people whose weekly word log I would like to see, or else I can't give you points. Yeah? Okay, do you have it right there? Okay, so I'm being very lenient. I mostly just needed to see people were able to hold on to it. So good. Remember, guys, the big thing is that y'all ask me about the parts of speech when you don't know where to put the word. Please ask me. Okay, so Kaylin was able to show me hers, but I still need David's and Jake's and the other people in Alora's. Already have yours? And like I said, for this first one, I really just kind of wanted to see that y'all held on to it and at least wrote something down on it. But next week's it'll be more up to snuff where it's or it needs to be up to snuff. What does that mean, up to snuff? What does that mean? Okay, but next time, and there's probably one on the white table, but I'll accept it for now. It's a stretch, though.